Hello everyone, how are you? I'm here again today with Vicky Collier, which I'm very excited about. And Vicky is the creator and founder of Lavana Wild Beauty. And we're excited to talk to her today about how to make a wild herb toner and an oil infusion. But to start with, we're going to go back over following on from Vicky's last workshop that we did, where we created a facial steam, and Vicky's going to talk about what that means to actually, rather than actually getting rid of that water, using it for more things. So welcome, Vicky.
Hello everybody. I hear you're all doing very well, and the end is in sight.
Exactly.
I'm very impressed. I don't know if any of you did the facial scrubs, but I hope you've noted it down, and at some point you'll create this mini ritual for yourselves. Right at the end of the session last week, I spoke about a herbal steam. I just want to go back over that because I think we ran through it quite quickly. To remind you that rosemary is looking a little bit, this is now nice and dry, it's from last week. Rosemary is a great herb to put in a ceramic bowl, covered with boiling water, allowed to sit for 5 minutes, and then used as a steam. So with a towel over your head, steaming up the rosemary. This rosemary encourages circulation, so it helps bring blood to the face, which means it reduces dark lines. It's really good for acne. It's an astringent, so it also helps to sort of close your pores once you finish the steam. So you might also want to add a little bit of thyme. As I've mentioned before, I do bang on about thyme, but at the moment when we want to clear our respiratory system and stuff, it's a really good one, I think, just to keep nice and healthy while we're in this situation. So I would chuck in a whole load of dried rosemary.
How much would you put in? How much would you recommend? Like a couple of stems, or?
Well, I mean, if you get a bunch from the market, I would say this is a dried bunch. I would probably put half of that in.
Okay.
And then maybe half of the thyme again.
Okay.
So once you've had your steam, what I tend to do is filter the water. So with a sieve, filter the water into a jug. And then I tend to pop it into an old milk bottle that I've got and put it in the fridge. And I'll use that to splash my face in the morning with. I sometimes put it into a little spray bottle and have it just on my desk so that through the day I can just spray it onto my face. So it has a lovely cleansing action. Again, the rosemary stimulates your circulation in your face. So it's bringing the blood all around you, and that means you're regenerating your cutis, basically. It's cellular regeneration. Just use an old spray bottle that you've got around the house, maybe clean it out and pop it in. If you want to do a steam and you don't really like the idea of making that into a toner, separate it up and have one on a stove. So you'll put the rosemary with some water on the stove, let it boil. Turn it down, let it simmer for 5 minutes, turn it off, let it sit for 10 minutes, and then filter it and use that as your toner. Another really nice, slightly more indulgent face steam and then toner would be to use rose petals, which none of us have to hand always, but you can easily buy them in any of your sort of local herb shops. Manantial de Salud in Barcelona is a great place to go and buy rose petals. A rose petal steam is balancing for your emotions, it's balancing for your skin, it reduces fine lines, it's a lovely experience. And then if you filter that water, you've then got a rose hydrolate. I mean, these are essentially hydrolates.
And how much water would you put? Like, so for half a bunch of rosemary or thyme, or how much?
Probably put about a litre and a half to 2 litres of water.
Okay.
Especially when if you're doing it separately, if you're just going to boil it up just for a toner, I'd put that much in, because it will reduce. With the steam, maybe a little less, because that's not going to reduce so much because you're not boiling it. So maybe a litre in the steam, and closer to 2 litres if you're just boiling it up on the stove. But that's a lovely thing to have, is the rose hydrolate.
And how many rose petals would you put in for 2 litres of water?
It's a little bit more expensive, but I'd probably say 400 grams, 300 to 400 grams. Yeah, I mean, I think that's enough. I would boil the rose very gently. I mean, in fact, I would simmer that rather than boiling it up. It's not such a hardy plant. Rosemary, for example, is a bit hardier. So you probably want to be able to break it down and get all of those nutrients out. Hi, Joe. You want to probably boil that for a little bit longer. So that's how you make.
It sounds delightful being able to have that just, on the desk. I mean, we use different sprays in the studio, especially when we're working with people, just to give them a boost and a lift once they've finished working out, or after a treatment, because it just brings them back into the room.
And you also have it awakens you. I think you also you have a what's the word? I mean, just the smell. The smell of a rosemary and thyme spray. I drench my face in it. I'm quite. This is not going to cost you very much to make. You can be liberal with that, and as long as you keep it in the fridge, it'll last you a week. I sometimes put a couple of drops of vodka in it. Just
we do that as well for our sprays at the studio as well, just to
make it
the
laugh.
alcohol, just to keep it.
And that's fine for your face, as long as it's just a couple of 3 or 4 drops in a bottle like that. That's absolutely fine for your face. In fact, sometimes it has quite a nice lifting effect. And that means it would last a bit longer. But to steam something up on a sort of bi-weekly basis, I think it's the same as making.
And as you say, it's a really beautiful ritual to do. It's something that you can actually. I mean, we're making the ginger shots, the ginger boost in the morning. And I have to say that I'm enjoying that ritual, of making it up and for the week.
Exactly.
And, so it kind of, you're doing something good for yourself.
And your house smells fantastic. It's just an overall sensory experience. So I mean, rosemary for circulation. Rose is more of a balancing, calming. It's also very anti-inflammatory. So a rose toner is a fantastic thing for your skin.
So if you've got problems with sort of dryness and raw where your skin's really agitated.
It's just a great balancer. Even if you've got acne, actually, a rose hydrolate or a rose infusion is really good for your skin. Now the other things, once you've got the rosemary and you've got the rose, I mean, I would buy double the amount, or pick, or wherever you can source. I mean, rosemary is pretty easy because you can get it in your market or in your supermarket, in fact. I then the same principles now really apply, but I'd like to show you how to make an oil maceration, an oil infusion, which is a longer process. This is more of a sort of instantly gratifying ritual, whereas the oil maceration is something that takes at least 40 days, but it's really lovely thing to do. You have to look after it, so you've got to check in on a daily basis with it, and it means that you can basically create your own herb-infused oils. So basically by making these preparations, you isolate the active ingredients of the plant into the oil, so they seep into the oil, and they can last between 6 months to 2 years. And we could just go, I think we'll just go with rosemary today and rose. We'll talk a little bit about those. You normally need to use a dried plant. So rose petals, for example, because they're quite soft and sort of, they've got a lot of water in them. you definitely have to use dried rose petals. But rosemary you could actually pick, because it grows under such a sort of strong sun. The rosemary you can use fresh rosemary in an oil infusion.
Okay.
So to make an oil infusion, you basically want to get yourself a jar. I mean, I've got some jars of, this is pine pollen that I've got infusing here. This is an open jar with rose petals in it. I would stuff the jar. This is not quite as full as I'd like. I would get, you probably want 400 or 500 grams of rose petals.
And just compact it in.
Push them in.
Yeah.
And then you're going to add an oil of your choice. Because rose petals have such a delicate flavor, I would choose an oil that doesn't have a very strong smell. Argan is really good. And you want, again, a cold pressed organic oil. This is a good label. Natur Green.
Yeah, I think we can get that at can you get that at Veritas here?
You can get it in Veritas. You can get it in most organic supermarkets, or yeah. So that they're really easy to come by. You fill up the jar with the petals, and then you pour the oil on and you cover it. Then you need to sit for 5 minutes and let the petals absorb the oil, because the level of the oil will probably fall down again. Yeah. And then just top it up. You just want to make sure the oil is just covering the petals. And then you want to seal the jar so it's hermetically sealed, because you're going to put it in the sun. It needs to be a transparent jar as well. Okay. You're going to put it in the sun, and you don't want the essential oils of the plants to evaporate. So you want basically to keep everything within that oil, all the stuff that's going to benefit your skin. Once you've closed the lid and you've got a good seal on it, if you've got a terrace, fantastic, you can put it out on your terrace. If you've got a windowsill that gets loads of sun, put it on your windowsill. The idea is that it sits under as much direct sunlight and moonlight as possible for 40 days and 40 nights at least. You can leave it beyond that if you want, but now's the perfect time as the sun starts to get hotter. It'll activate the active ingredients in the herb to release all their goodness into the oil. So once you've made the jar, you hermetically close it, put it on your windowsill or terrace, and every day I would go out and give it a good shake. And that breaks down the plant and helps it, again, release those active ingredients. A rose oil is super good for the skin. I would probably keep it just for the face, because rose petals are a little more expensive. And two, it's just such a wonderful, it's like a face serum, basically.
Yeah.
And
for the body?
Yeah, so for the body, I'd probably make a rosemary oil.
Yeah.
I would go for rosemary, because rosemary stimulates circulation. So I would pack a jar with rosemary, and I'd cover it with sesame oil or avocado oil.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about a rosemary oil infusion, same principles apply, same process. Pack a jar with the rosemary, cover it in the oil, let it sit, add a little bit more into the sun. A rosemary oil activates the circulation. It's really good for rheumatism or achy bones, achy muscles. It's also a fantastic sort of regenerative herb. And with avocado oil, for example, you're giving yourself a good dose of omega-6 as well, which is why rosemary and avocado oil would be fantastic also as a hair oil.
Okay.
So
yeah, I know that actually. It's
a bit of an all-rounder.
Yeah, it sounds.
Yeah, exactly. It stimulates hair growth.
I know that.
So rosemary is a fantastic one for a massage, for body massage before or after a shower, and also if you want to treat your hair, I would massage it in and leave it even overnight. To sort of stimulate hair growth and just give your hair a good shine. It gives a lovely shine. So yeah, rose, thyme, and rosemary are the herbs of today, and I think very easy to come by. And once you've finished the 40 days and 40 nights, you then have to filter the oil. I use a muslin cloth, that's ideal. Squeeze the plant out with your hand as well, so that you get all the goodness out. And then you need to put it into a dark glass container. I mean, I use these big containers, but these little bottles here. Have to look online to see where you could buy dark. I mean, I can, if you want to find out where to buy these bottles from, I can tell you in a message. You can also paint.
We could reuse some of the bottles that we actually have from you when we're using.
Exactly. I mean, that's another thing. You could reuse anything you've got around the house, and also you can also paint them black. You can paint a jar black. You know, I mean, just because what you want to do then is store the oil in a place away from direct sunlight and preferably dry.
Yes.
And that way it could last anything between 6 months to 2 years.
That's amazing.
So and it makes fantastic presents as well.
Absolutely.
Make sure you label it. Make sure you put the date straight away, so you remember that for how long you've been macerating the oil for, and the infusion, and that's it, really.
That's amazing. I think that's a very beautiful way for us to actually care for our bodies and create rituals for ourselves
and reconnect with nature.
And reconnect with nature, exactly, which I think we all need to do right now, even if it means that we can just get it from the supermarket or the greengrocer.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all around us, you know, and these are fairly straightforward processes, but it's taking control.
Some that we've forgotten, though.
Exactly, and it's very empowering. Yeah. And you can put chamomile, you can put whatever herb choice as soon as things become more available. Chamomile for baby skin, you know, super calming. So yeah, there's a myriad of possibilities.
Thank you so much. And if people want to get in touch with you, you can actually just put something at the bottom of we'll put something at the bottom of the posts, and they can get in touch with you if they need.
Exactly, yeah, and I can send them, you know, stuff that I've written up on it, or where to go and buy, you know, where to source things.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that.
A great pleasure.
Appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.